You were a complete football rookie who couldn't even juggle a ball. Yet, Manchester United manager Sir Alex Ferguson took one look at you and called you an absolute genius. He didn't just personally march to the FA to get you a special talent permit, he even forced you straight into the Premier League starting lineup. And any superstar who dared to question you for even a second? He mercilessly benched them and sent them packing to the reserves. Every superstar and coach at Manchester United thought the old boss had lost his mind. But little did they know, it was this exact decision that would bring Manchester United their greatest 5 consecutive championships in history. And it all started just 1 week ago, during Manchester United's tour in China. While everyone else was busy chasing after the United stars, you saw your perfect chance. You pushed through the crowd, grabbed Sir Alex's hand, and shouted the exact words you had practiced a million times. "Sir Alex, my name is Hua Chengfei. I want to play for you." Instantly, the whole crowd burst into roaring laughter. Everyone looked at you like you were an arrogant, delusional lunatic. But Sir Alex's next move? It left the entire place frozen in shock. Because instead of getting angry, he stared at you with a heavy, serious expression. Then, looking you dead in the eye, he said, "Hua, your presence here is the greatest gift God could have given me. Your potential is limitless. Hua, do you want to join Manchester United?" And without missing a beat, you blurted out, "Yes, boss. I'm all in." After that, completely ignoring the protests of his assistant coaches, he personally secured that special talent permit to fast-track you into United. Right after that, the impossible happened. Your visa, the paperwork, everything was sorted out instantly. In just 1 week, your entire life was completely flipped upside down. But you weren't surprised at all, because only you knew the truth. It was all thanks to the god of football system you had just bonded with. Right off the bat, it gave you a massive starter pack. And you actually rolled a maxed out hidden stat, luck. But that wasn't all. The system also rewarded you with 2 god-tier skill cards. One of them was an absolute game changer, the coach's favor card. The moment you made physical contact with any head coach, they would become 100% devoted to you. But it only works on one person. As for the other card, it was the penalty box phantom, waiting to be activated. Inside the penalty box, you would become an omnipresent, unstoppable phantom. You could always sniff out the chances that everyone else completely missed. To activate it, your core stats had to hit shooting 75, defense 60, physicality 80, and pace 80. So, the exact second you shook Sir Alex's hand, you slammed down that coach's favor card without a second thought. And just like that, a total rookie who had never even touched a day of professional training was actually signing a professional contract, sitting right next to the CEO of Manchester United. You had pulled off the ultimate jump from a regular guy to a pro baller. Looking out the window at the clouds below, your heart was burning with absolute ambition. Your era of football had finally begun. But the very next second, when you pulled up your system screen, the smile on your face instantly froze. Shooting, 56. Defense, 38. Physicality, 76. Pace, 69. These stats were so shockingly bad, you couldn't even bear to look at them. Deep down, you knew that literally any kid from the United Academy would absolutely crush your numbers. But your biggest fear? What if this was your absolute limit? Sure, the system gave you one single way out. Use goals and assists in matches to earn God coins for upgrades. But one goal only earned you 1 coin. And an assist? That was only worth half a coin. What's even crazier is that the cost to upgrade your stats multiplies every single time. Under 60 points, 1 coin gets you 1 point. But once you cross 80, it takes 8 coins just to go up a single point. And over 95? That'll cost you a massive 32 coins. You literally shiver as you do the math. Just taking your shooting stat from 56 to max level would cost you exactly 404 goals. Do you know how insane 404 goals is? Even Pele only scored 1,281 in his entire career. That means even if you reached Pele's level, you still wouldn't have enough to max out all 6 of your main stats. Your only hope right now is through hardcore professional training. You have to unlock your own potential and try to grind out some free stats first, just to save those precious God coins. But what really gives you the chills is that absolute money pit of a feature, the lucky wheel. One single spin costs 50 coins. That is just daylight robbery. But then you think about that manager's favor card that won over Ferguson, and that legendary penalty box phantom skill. And you realize it's actually totally worth it. And it doesn't stop there. Upgrading your skills also burns through an insane amount of God coins. So now, your need for these coins is literally a bottomless pit. But here's the kicker. With your absolute garbage stats right now, dreaming of scoring or getting an assist in a real match is just pure delusion. Your one and only lifeline is that maxed out luck stat you rolled at the very beginning. If you can just use that to scrape your first goal and earn your first payout of God coins, you can finally start building some momentum. So, your very first match is going to be make or break. You know better than anyone, with your trash stats right now. Even if Ferguson loves you, there is no way he's letting you touch the pitch for even a single second. Earning God coins from matches is a total pipe dream right now. Reality hits you like a truck. Your top priority is to keep your feet on the ground, build up your basics, and at the very least, activate that penalty box phantom skill. Over 10 hours later, you touch down in London. Manchester United's CEO is there to pick you up in person and drops you straight off at a 5-star hotel. The moment you walk through the doors, you freeze. Not only is Ferguson there waiting for you, but sitting right next to him are two absolute living legends of English football. Bobby Charlton and Gordon Banks. Two veterans with almost 150 years of life between them. Brought in by Ferguson just to vouch for a total nobody like you. Because of this, your work permit is completely in the bag. And sure enough, you're practically just a spectator at the hearing the next day. Ferguson's sheer influence absolutely blows your mind. But right after that, without even giving you a second to catch your breath, he rushes you straight back to the Carrington training ground in Manchester. But what Ferguson says next hits you like a bucket of ice water right over your head. This is the reserve team dorm, he says. You're the only first team player staying here. Your basics are simply far too weak. You're going to have to work 100 times harder than anyone else. In my squad, we don't care about potential. We only care about what you can deliver on the pitch. Before walking away, he drops one last bomb. I've already had the coaches draw up a brutal Hell Week training plan just for you. Get some rest today. Your special training starts tomorrow. Honestly, you were born ready for this. I don't need a break. I'm ready to start right now. A hint of appreciation flashed in Ferguson's eyes. Without another word, he took you straight to the first team's training pitch. The very next second, he actually blew the whistle, stopped the entire team's training, and pushed you front and center. This is Hua, the newest member of our first team. He's from China. You immediately introduced yourself in fluent English, confident and composed. But the moment you mentioned you played as a striker, you suddenly noticed. The look in everyone's eyes changed in a flash. Welbeck, and the rest of the forwards? The way they looked at you turned instantly hostile. You knew exactly what was going on. You were there to steal their jobs. But to your surprise, Captain Neville actually took the lead and started clapping to welcome you. Giggs and Rooney quickly joined in, too. For a moment, the vibe was totally warm and friendly. But the second Ferguson called for training to resume, everyone scattered like birds. Nobody gave you a second glance. It was brutal, but a little cold shoulder? You couldn't care less. You were way more pumped for that hellish, custom-made training program. What you didn't know, though, was that the two coaches totally looked down on you. They only threw that plan together because Ferguson forced their hand. You dove into the training like an absolute masochist. Juggling? The ball kept slipping away. You didn't care. Dribbling through the cones? The ball flew off again. You just kept your mouth shut. And started over. Even when the coaches chewed you out. You just hyped yourself up. I mean, these were Ferguson's right-hand men coaching you personally. Other players would kill for this. So, you kept grinding like your life depended on it. Just 2 hours in, while taking a breather, you accidentally opened your system panel. And what you saw made you absolutely lose your mind. Right next to every single one of your stats, a brand new potential limit had popped up. This meant, you weren't even close to your ceiling. Your future was limitless. With that, all your doubts vanished. You went straight into hell mode, grinding like crazy. Day 1, you trained straight until 10 p.m., passing out the second your head hit the pillow. Day 2, Day 4, you trained like an absolute maniac. Drenched in sweat, you pushed through the endless, boring grind alone for 7 whole days. Your insane work ethic actually left those two coaches completely stunned. Their attitude toward you totally flipped. Now, they were the ones begging you to take it easy. But you weren't having any of it. Because only you knew that over the past few days, the numbers on your system panel were skyrocketing at lightning speed, while you were still riding the high of getting insanely strong. Boom, match day for the Community Shield. Snuck right up on you. Soon after, assistant coach Mike Phelan started reading off a 18-man roster. Foster, Rooney, Berbatov. One superstar name after another was called out. And then, the bench. Owen's name was right there on the list. But when that final name was called out, you completely froze. How the hell is this even possible? You've only been at the club for a single week. You haven't even joined a full team practice yet. You're literally still learning the basic rules of football. You honestly thought. But right at that moment, a harsh voice suddenly shattered the silence. Boss, I don't accept this. It was Danny Welbeck. He stepped forward, his face twisted in pure frustration. Instantly, the air in the entire dressing room turned to ice. Every single pair of eyes darted straight to Sir Alex Ferguson. Oh my god, has he lost his mind? Here at Manchester United, challenging Ferguson is basically a death wish. A second later, Ferguson absolutely exploded. If you don't like it, suck it up. Do I need you to teach me how to manage my own damn team? Welbeck tried to argue back, but Ferguson's glare cut through him like a jagged knife. His voice trailed off into nothing. And then, Ferguson delivered his sentence in one brutal breath. Get your ass down to the reserves. And don't even think about coming back for at least a month. Welbeck was petrified on the spot. In the end, he could only walk away with his tail tucked between his legs. It was your first time witnessing the legendary hairdryer treatment. The sheer force of his aura almost suffocated you. But your heart suddenly sank. Sir Alex, by blowing up like this, aren't you just throwing me right into the fire? Welbeck's outburst instantly ignited everyone else's hostility towards you. Especially Gabriel Auberton and Federico Makeda. They looked at you like they wanted to eat you alive. After the meeting broke up, you kept your head down and went straight back to your intense training. But Mike Phelan suddenly walked over. You had no idea you'd make the squad, did you? You nodded honestly. No, sir. But his very next words made your stomach drop completely. I didn't want you on the squad either. But the boss wouldn't budge. He made two things very clear. First, this is a reward for how incredibly hard you've been working. And for how fast you've been progressing in training. But that's not all. The coach then dropped an even bigger bombshell. This was mostly to force you into experiencing professional football early. He wanted you to feel the intense atmosphere of a live stadium. This kind of extreme favoritism was something not even Cristiano Ronaldo got when he first arrived. As for your teammates' anger, that was just Sir Alex's twisted way of pushing you to grow faster. Even though you knew all of this was because of the coach's favor card, you were still deeply moved by how much he was doing to build you up. The only thing you could do now was train like your life depended on it. That afternoon, you traveled with the first team straight down to London. And when you finally stepped out onto the pitch at Wembley Stadium, you truly understood the meaning of breathtaking. 90,000 seats, and every single ticket had been sold out for weeks. The thought of 90,000 people watching the game live tomorrow, an unprecedented wave of anxiety instantly gripped your heart. No amount of pep talks could calm you down. And when it was finally time for the pre-match warm-ups the next day, when 90,000 pairs of eyes felt like they were staring right through you, you finally cracked. You were shaking violently, completely lost in a daze of sheer panic. Only then did you understand Sir Alex's brutal intentions. He was leaving you out here to sink or swim. He wanted you to conquer this fear all on your own. Hua Chengfei, pull yourself together, man. You muttered, desperately trying to calm your racing nerves. But it barely helped, not until you finally took your seat on the bench. Stepping away from the glaring spotlight, that suffocating pressure finally started to fade. As the whistle blew, the sheer thrill of watching such a top-tier clash up close instantly chased away your nerves. Your blood was pumping again. In the first half, thanks to a stunner of a goal from Nani, Manchester United took a 1-0 lead. During the halftime warm-up, you felt most of your anxiety melt away. You were absolutely sure that a few more matches would get you totally used to this. But then, the second half flipped the script. Chelsea banged in 2 quick goals, instantly taking the lead. Just when everyone thought it was all over, deep into stoppage time, Rooney latched onto a brilliant pass from Giggs and pulled off a miracle equalizer. 2-2, with only 2 minutes left on the clock, and no extra time to play. The match was heading straight for a penalty shootout. And right then, both teams started making subs at the exact same time, gearing up for the shootout. Even though you'd been warming up on the sidelines, you knew damn well you were just out there to soak in the vibes. Actually playing? Not a chance in hell. But out of nowhere, Mike Phelan started waving right at you. He shouted your name. Your mind went completely blank. Do you know why I'm sending you in? While you were waiting on the touchline, Sir Alex Ferguson himself pulled you aside. You were still completely dazed, buzzing with pure adrenaline. You stammered out, I don't know, boss. But Ferguson just patted your shoulder, his voice rock solid. I'm putting you on, so you can feel what a real match is like. I've seen how hard you've been working. Don't let the pressure get to you. Just go out there, and just like that, still in an absolute daze, you subbed on for Berbatov. Stepping onto the hallowed turf of Wembley Stadium, the match restarted. Everyone figured this was just garbage time, just killing the clock before the shootout. And as for you, a total nobody. Nobody gave a damn. You were running around the pitch like a headless chicken, without a single clue on how to position yourself to ask for the ball. But man, you ran your heart out. Because with every stride, that nerve-wracking dread was being completely swallowed up by pure excitement. Your life was moving way too fast. This all felt like a crazy dream. Your amateur, pointless running around wasn't doing anything but draining your stamina. It was completely useless. The match was literally seconds away from ending. But then, out of nowhere, Carvalho made a massive blunder on a pass. The ball came straight to your feet, right as you were sprinting down the pitch. You tried to trap the ball on pure instinct, but with your pathetic stats, you ended up bouncing it 4 or 5 meters away. There was no time to feel embarrassed. Chelsea's ironclad defender, John Terry, was closer to the ball. He was just about to clear it away. But Terry suddenly decided against toying with you. Instead, he went straight for a booming long pass to find Drogba. You lunged forward like a manic windmill, flailing your arms to block it. But he totally misjudged his kick. With a massive thud, he blasted the ball full force, straight into your chest. But you couldn't even feel the pain, because the ball violently ricocheted off your chest. It was heading straight for the Chelsea goal. He scrambled and launched himself into the air. His fingertips just barely grazed the ball, altering its flight path. You watched helplessly as the ball flew toward the end line. But no one could have predicted what happened next. Smacked dead center, crashing violently against the crossbar. Then it ricocheted straight back into the penalty box. After taking a hit earlier, you had unconsciously jogged a few steps forward. And you happened to be standing exactly where the ball was dropping. In that split second, your mind went completely blank. You had no idea what you were supposed to do. The rebounding ball literally just bounced right off your head, and rocketed back toward the Chelsea goal. Petr Cech, who had just pulled off that desperate save, hadn't even had time to get up. He could only watch in despair as the ball flew into the net. John Terry and Ricardo Carvalho were sprinting back like crazy, but they were still over 3 meters away from you. There was absolutely nothing they could do but watch it go in. The ball crossed the goal line. The referee's whistle blew loud and clear. Meanwhile, you just stood there in the Chelsea box, completely and utterly dumbfounded. So this was the terrifying power of having maxed out luck. It was like the system literally spoon-fed that goal right to you. You were just about to run over and hug Sir Alex Ferguson, when suddenly a massive force tackled you to the ground. Even the goalie, Edwin van der Sar, sprinted over like a madman and jumped on top of the pile. You could only mumble out some useless protests. But instead of feeling pain, you felt a surge of pure, boiling heat rushing through your entire body. The sheer thrill of it made you shiver all over. To absolutely no one's surprise, you won man of the match. Right before you received the award, Sir Alex Ferguson laughed heartily and gave you a massive hug, even turning straight to his assistant coaches, Mike Phelan and Renee Meulenstein. Laying down the law, from now on, you had to get more playing time. Even though the two assistants thought it was just a fluke of pure luck. Facing this miraculous title-winning goal, they had to swallow their objections right back down. At the same time, your teammates' attitudes toward you shifted in an instant. Even the usually stoic Park Ji-sung came over to congratulate you. Though, Dimitar Berbatov, the guy you got subbed on for, and Michael Owen still gave you the cold shoulder. But honestly, that couldn't ruin your good mood at all. Right at the moment you hoisted the Community Shield trophy in celebration, a voice suddenly echoed in your mind. The system directly rewarded you with a big wheel spin worth 50 football god coins. You were so hyped you literally jumped into the air. You never would have guessed that winning a trophy could earn you such an overpowered reward. So what if it was the Premier League title, or even the Europa League, or Player of the Season? The rewards for those would be unimaginable. You were so thrilled, praising the system for being so generous. You decided right then and there to spin the wheel on this lucky pitch. The misty grand roulette appeared in your mind. But the very next second, your face turned black as coal. As the wheel's pointer slowly came to a halt, it left behind a single, freezing line of text. Congratulations, you have won 30 football god coins. Tough luck, you lost a bit this time. Try again later. You were so pissed you almost threw up blood. A single spin on the system clearly costs 50 coins. This was straight up a scam. But at the same time, this lightning-fast feedback from the system sent a chill down your spine. Beneath all the excitement, you felt a primal fear of the unknown. After the celebrations faded, you didn't dare slack off for even a second. The very next day, as soon as you got back to Manchester, you headed straight for the special training ground. However, during the full squad practice that afternoon, reality hit you like a truck, completely exposing your actual skill level. Running around the pitch like a headless chicken, you couldn't even hit the target to save your life. Looking at that disastrous performance, whatever shred of ego you had left was instantly crushed. The gap between you and the first team stars was a massive gulf. Right now, you had exactly 31 football god coins saved up. You knew damn well your potential wasn't fully tapped yet, so you definitely weren't going to do something as short-sighted as dumping points directly into your stats. But then the system threw a bucket of cold water on you. It clearly stated, adding points only increases your potential. If you wanted to turn that potential into actual ability, you still had to train like crazy. This bullshit rule left you completely speechless. It seemed that even with the system's help, you couldn't escape the daily grind. Left with no other choice, you just quietly started figuring out how to spend those 31 football god coins. Your eyes quickly locked onto that locked skill, Phantom of the Box. The activation requirements were outrageously strict. Both defense and shooting had to hit 75. Never mind the fact that a striker's skill somehow required defensive stats. Shooting was your absolute biggest weakness. That meant you didn't hesitate for a single second. You dumped 28 precious football god coins straight into your shooting stat. Your potential instantly spiked from 73 to 80. Looking at your brand new shooting stats, you let out a long sigh of relief. Now, all the potential requirements to activate the skill were finally met. All that was left was to train like a madman and turn that damn potential into actual skill. You sweat bullets on the training ground, day and night. You demanded the assistant coach push you until you didn't have a single drop of energy left. You even volunteered for extra practice on defensive slide tackles, your absolute least favorite thing to do, repeating it thousands of times against the dummies. Your knees were scraped raw, scabbing over only to be torn open again. Even the team medics couldn't bear to watch. Meanwhile, the media coverage about your game-winning goal was practically non-existent. All the flashing cameras were entirely focused on Manchester United winning the trophy. To them, you were just another lucky flash in the pan. That goal was pure blind luck. You weren't even worth mentioning. But while the British media turned up their noses at you, the Far East had already gone absolutely crazy for you. Ever since the news of your Manchester United contract reached China, millions of fans had been waiting with bated breath. From the moment Sir Alex Ferguson brought out Bobby Charlton in, Gordon Banks to vouch for you, all the way to you passing the special talent clause hearing. Every single step had gripped the hearts of over 1 billion people. They fully believed that Manchester United saw your true potential, not just the massive Chinese market backing you. But absolutely no one expected that you'd actually come off the bench and score the game-winning goal. Lucky shot? They didn't care about that at all. All they knew was that you had firmly planted your feet at Manchester United. Major media outlets swarmed in, blowing up the club's phones, all begging for an exclusive interview with you. Manchester United's CEO, David Gill, obviously didn't want to let this golden opportunity to cash in on the Chinese market slip by. But in his eyes, your winning goal in the Community Shield was nothing but a fluke. You'd never be able to pull it off again, so they had to strike while the iron was hot. But Sir Alex Ferguson was dead set against it. He bluntly stated that you were in intensive training and wouldn't tolerate any distractions. Having the door slammed in his face didn't stop David Gill, though. He turned right around and secretly contacted the Chinese reporters, hyping up how much Sir Alex valued you, while cleverly dropping hints that he was available for an interview himself. They hit it off immediately, reaching an agreement in a heartbeat. But locked away in the Carrington training ground, completely isolated from the outside world, you had absolutely no idea this was happening. Before you knew it, the curtain rose on the new Premier League season. For their opening match, Manchester United was hosting Birmingham City. Just one day before the game, the assistant coach announced the starting lineup and the bench. Once again, you made the matchday squad as a sub. You never expected that you'd carry over your momentum from the last game. You just stepped off the pitch after luckily creating a goal to break the deadlock. Sir Alex Ferguson came straight over, patted your shoulder, and praised you for a brilliant performance. You scratched your head, a bit embarrassed, and honestly admitted it was just pure luck. But Ferguson just laughed out loud. He told you to keep that lucky streak going, and then hit the nail on the head, pointing out all your flaws in reading the game on the pitch. You soaked up the old boss's precious advice like a sponge in a desert. Then you went right back out to put it into practice, turning what should have been a standard 5-hour training session into a grueling grind from dawn till dusk. You didn't even stop for a break. Word quickly spread around the Manchester United first team. You were an absolute, tireless training maniac. But your crazy routine was cut short by the second round of the Premier League. You were sitting on the bench, ready to go. But surprisingly, to keep Michael Owen happy, Ferguson actually gave him the start, leaving you to watch helplessly from the sidelines. But once the whistle blew, the entire United squad looked like they were sleepwalking. Not only did Burnley score in the first half, but worse, the whole team was in a massive slump. Even after Ferguson gave them his infamous hairdryer treatment at max volume during halftime, the second half was still completely lifeless. So, the boss subbed you in for a struggling Owen. But the moment you stepped onto the pitch in your number 29 shirt, traveling Manchester United fans erupted into a massive chorus of boos. Even the Burnley fans were completely baffled. Booing your own player? What kind of backwards logic was that? Didn't this guy just score in 2 consecutive games? How is he still getting booed like this? They even started gloating, shouting, "Hey mate, why don't you just leave United and come play for us at Burnley? We definitely wouldn't boo you." However, just a few minutes later, those same Burnley fans wanted to slap themselves in the face. Because your performance on the pitch was so bad it made them question reality. At that moment, they finally understood exactly why the United fans were booing you. A player with this kind of level, if he played for their team, they'd be ripping up their own tickets if they didn't boo. Surprisingly though, you stayed completely calm. You even signaled your teammates to stop passing you the ball. You knew you just didn't have the technical skills to link up with them, so you had to find chances on your own. But things change in a flash on the football pitch. In the 76th minute of the second half, Nani was making a run down the wing when he got triple-teamed. With absolutely no time to look up, he blindly passed the ball based on the color of the jersey. But when he finally looked up, he realized the receiver was you. Nani shook his head in pure despair. He didn't even bother watching what would happen next. He just turned around and ran back to defend. Because he just knew, you were definitely going to lose the ball. And honestly, you were panicking too. You only ran into that space out of sheer training instinct. Who would have thought Nani would actually pass it to you? In a split second, you spotted Wayne Rooney nearby, and Valencia making a run on the wing. If you could just control the ball, it would be an absolute golden opportunity. Countless brilliant plays flashed through your mind in an instant. You could shoot it directly, or slip it through to Valencia. Even Park Ji-sung was open in the distance. But reality hit you like a ton of bricks. You simply didn't have the first touch to control it and make a killer pass. And with the defender closing in fast, you just swung your foot blindly at the incoming ball. But right at that moment, a massive force slammed into your back. But right as you were hitting the turf, that foot you lined up to shoot with somehow, miraculously, just grazed the ball. The ball rolled agonizingly slow toward the net. And as luck would have it, the Burnley keeper had already guessed where you were going, and dove completely the wrong way. It was bizarre. The keeper and the defenders just watched helplessly, but no one could even lay a finger on it. While the whole stadium stared in total disbelief, the ball stubbornly trickled right over the line. The ref blew the whistle. Your blood instantly boiled over. You took off running like a madman. Your teammates mobbed you, their big hands aggressively ruffling your hair. You lucky son of a gun. Rub some of that luck on me. You instantly played it humble. Hey, it was pure luck, man. Cut me some slack, guys. But then, Rooney just threw his arm right around your shoulder. A goal's a goal, who cares if it was a mess? I've got your back from now on, kid. You immediately rolled with it. Just like that, you became Wayne Rooney's protected little brother. He even thought that if the fans ever booed you again, they just didn't know ball. But out on the pitch, things spiraled out of control. The Burnley players were absolutely livid about that goal. They were coming for all 3 points, and you just snatched the equalizer right out of their hands. Who could swallow that? The United veterans were seeing red, too. They unleashed an absolute bombardment on the Burnley goal. The intensity had the United fans' hearts skipping beats. Right up until the dying minutes of the game. Giggs won a crucial corner kick. Heart pounding, you charged into the box. To your surprise, their defenders treated you like the #1 threat, sticking to you like glue. The pressure was suffocating. You scoffed to yourself. Whatever, I'll just stand here like a statue. If I drag some defenders away and make space, I've done my job. Vidic soared into the air with a massive header. The keeper barely managed to parry it away. But then, like it had a mind of its own, the ball ricocheted straight toward your face. The defender had completely lost focus for a split second, leaving you wide open. You lucky devil, it was coming in so fast your brain totally short-circuited. You didn't even have time to flinch. Thwack, a massive sound echoed out. You didn't head that ball. It brutally smashed right into your face. But against all odds, the rebound sent the ball soaring in an absolutely perfect arc. It nestled right into the corner of the net. The Burnley keeper just froze in shock. No matter what he did, he was powerless to stop you from grabbing a brace and sealing the game. You were so hyped, you wanted to sprint straight over to Sir Alex and thank the whole coaching staff. But you were way too slow. Your teammates tackled you in a massive bear hug. And right at that moment, the system chimed in with a side quest alert. Goals in 3 consecutive matches. Award, plus 3 football god coins. Luck trigger probability temporarily boosted by 5%. Whoa, the system actually had hidden Easter eggs like this? Man, I'm gonna have to grind achievements like crazy now. The final whistle blew, and the British press absolutely lost their minds. Headlines like "The Lucky Kid" and "Super Sub Saves the Day" were plastered everywhere. But underneath it all, they were just mocking you and questioning your actual skills. Nobody gave your talent an ounce of credit. Just when everyone was laughing at you, Ferguson stepped right up. He dropped an absolute bombshell to the media. He is the most talented player I have ever coached. That instantly blew up the football world. The news that Hua Chengfei's talent was even higher than Cristiano Ronaldo's pushed you right into the eye of the storm, despite all the outside noise. You knew better than anyone that these goals were just pure luck handed down from heaven. Even when Wayne Rooney wanted to take you out to celebrate, the old boss flatly said no. He wanted to create the purest football environment for you. You fought back the urge to spend your football god coins to level up. Because in just 3 days, it was round 3 of the Premier League. Manchester United's brutal schedule forced Ferguson into heavy rotation. But who would have thought? Even under these circumstances, the old boss still glued you to the bench. Rooney was rested for this match. By the time you were subbed on, the team was already cruising with a 5-0 lead. The Wigan Athletic defenders didn't even take you seriously. Your clumsy first touch posed absolutely no threat. But a maxed out luck stat is just that unreasonable. Paul Scholes unleashed an absolute cannon from outside the box. The keeper parried it, and the ball, against all odds, smacked right into an opposing defender, and deflected straight to your feet. You didn't even move a muscle, and the ball just rolled itself right over the goal line. This time it wasn't a lucky bounce off your head, but an assist from the opponent. Even the commentators were stunned. Whose goal is that, anyway? With 4 goals under your belt, by some crazy twist of fate, you actually climbed straight to the top of the Premier League scoring charts. You even felt a little creeped out. Scoring like this was basically shattering the confidence of every striker in the world, even though the old boss kept shielding you fiercely from the media, stopping you from fully basking in the limelight. You were actually loving it. You wanted to make an international call to share the joy with your parents, but they had absolutely no idea what the Premier League was. You had to swallow all that excitement by yourself. You threw yourself into the training ground, working your guts out, only to realize that as your ability approached its potential limit, your rate of improvement started slowing down drastically. Holding on to 7 football god coins, you wanted to upgrade your core stats, only to find your balance was insufficient. Every single stat required 8 coins. You could only choose between dribbling, passing, and defending. As a striker, your next choice would have made everyone's jaws drop. With a cold gaze, you unexpectedly dumped the points into your defensive potential. But this was your carefully calculated way to break the bottleneck. Because the activation requirement for the godly skill, Phantom of the Penalty Box, demanded that your actual defensive attribute reach 60 points. You decisively bumped your defensive potential up to 71 points, just to complete your evolution as fast as possible. Looking at the mere 3 football god coins left on the system interface, you took a deep breath. You had no choice but to grit your teeth and keep pushing your body to the absolute limit. The day in, day out hellish training was incredibly dull. What tortured you even more was the awful-tasting nutritional meals. Seeing you look like you were about to throw up, Rooney smirked and tried to tempt you to sneak out for some good food. You quickly shook your head, terrified that Ferguson would break your legs if he found out. Rooney then urged you to move out of the dorms for a more relaxing environment. You explained that your weekly wage was a pitiful £2,000, and you couldn't afford to live outside anyway. Rooney's eyes widened on the spot. After all, his own weekly wage was a whopping £90,000. Finding out you didn't even have an agent, Rooney didn't say another word. He offered to get you in touch with his own agent. But who would have thought, by the very next day. But Rooney came back with an awkward look on his face, carrying their reply. They actually turned you down with absolute contempt. They even claimed you're just some lucky punk who stumbled into dumb luck, saying you have absolutely no future. Hearing that kind of feedback, you just let out a cold laugh, but inside, a massive fire of rage was burning. Those short-sighted fools, they look down on you now, huh? Well, sooner or later, they'll be begging for a piece of you. Your future is destined to make the entire football world tremble. One day, you'll use your pure skill to slap the taste right out of all their mouths. It wasn't until after 12 grueling days of hard training that your physical stats finally broke through to 79 points. Then came the massive clash in round 4 of the Premier League. Manchester United, facing off against their bitter rivals, Arsenal, right at home. You sat on the bench, watching helplessly as the visitors drew first blood. Arsenal, riding high on their lead, looked absolutely unstoppable. But then, during halftime, Sir Alex flipped the switch and unleashed his legendary, terrifying hairdryer treatment. First, Rooney smashed in a penalty to tie it up, and right after that, their defender completely gifted us an own goal. The score instantly flipped to 2-1. Then, right in the 73rd minute, you were called up to sub in for Giggs, stepping right onto that explosive, high-stakes battlefield. But the second you got on the pitch, Arsenal's centre-back, Gallas, stuck to you like glue. He even viciously threatened to shut you down, calling you a lucky punk. But you just looked at him, completely unimpressed. Your savage trash talk completely broke his composure on the spot. He swore he'd teach you a lesson you'd never forget. And he actually shadowed you like crazy. You couldn't even get a single touch on the ball. Even Rooney thought it was way too risky to pass to you. You were practically invisible in this top-tier clash. Just desperately roaming around, looking for scraps. Gallas was sneering right at you, absolutely convinced you were totally out of tricks. But right when the whole stadium thought you'd leave empty-handed, the miracle of your maxed-out luck suddenly struck again. Manchester United didn't even have the ball. Arsenal was being heavily pressured at the time. They were just helplessly passing it around the back. You saw Rooney sprinting his heart out to press them. And who would have thought? Right as you closed in on their keeper, Almunia, he completely slipped and shanked the clearance. The ball fell perfectly, right at your feet. and you were just one single step away from an open goal. You wanted to blast it in instantly, but man, your body just couldn't keep up with your brain. Still, you easily tapped it into the empty net for a goal. You felt your blood absolutely boiling with adrenaline. Your teammate, Rooney, scooped you up into a massive hug instantly, looking even more thrilled than you were. Your insane luck was still holding up. You flashed a wide grin and said, "It's all thanks to my big bro's leadership." But secretly, you were feeling pretty damn smug. You hugged Rooney, your golden ticket, even tighter. The match kicked off again. Even though Arsenal was still pushing forward, something gave you a really bizarre feeling. It felt like they weren't going all out, yet every single one of them looked deadly serious. As the clock ticked down, you wanted to take advantage and trigger that maxed out luck again to rack up some more football god coins. But the pressure on the pitch was just too intense. The whole United squad was forced to fall back and defend. Finally, the final whistle blew. Manchester United successfully held on to a 3-1 victory, locking in a 4-game winning streak in the league. But, you didn't get another chance to shoot. You just quietly reminded yourself, this is the top-tier Premier League, man. You can't be too greedy. Suddenly, a familiar voice speaking Chinese echoed from the sidelines. You turned to look, and in the crowd of reporters, you spotted a middle-aged man. He was actually wearing a press badge from CCTV. You were absolutely thrilled. You never expected that you'd actually caught their attention. You couldn't wait to go over and chat. But just as you were about to walk over, you suddenly remembered Ferguson's warning. No matter how much you wanted to, you had to grit your teeth and hold back. God knows how many football god coins that would cost you. So, you just shot them an apologetic look, and decisively turned around to retreat. Right at that moment, the international break rolled around, and the rest of your Manchester United teammates packed up to go play for their countries. Since you didn't get a call-up for the national team, you actually got a rare chance to catch your breath. Ferguson even gave you the green light to go on a European vacation, or head back home to visit your family. But you rejected it on the spot without a second thought. You looked the old man dead in the eye with fierce determination. "Boss, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to train." Ferguson's old eyes filled with deep approval. He actually set you up with a top-tier support team for your private training sessions. You practically lived at the Carrington training ground like a maniac, pushing yourself to the absolute limit. At the same time, you dropped the 4 football god coins you had just saved up to forcefully boost your dribbling potential. The Manchester United starters slowly returned, looking completely exhausted. With the brutal schedule of both the Champions League and the Premier League kicking off, United had to heavily rotate the squad. But when the roster for the away game against Spurs was announced, you were still firmly on standby on the bench. Even though the starting spots went to Owen and Makeda, it actually made you even more hyped. Because after grinding away in isolation for the last dozen days, your skills had already undergone a massive, earth-shattering transformation. In this upcoming battle, you couldn't wait to show the whole world your brand new form. That hellish training over the past couple of weeks made your stats completely skyrocket. Your shooting stat officially hit 70, and your dribbling was closing in on the big 70 mark too. Looking at those numbers, you were absolutely ecstatic. They finally didn't look as pathetic as they used to. United was playing away against a tough Spurs side, but surprisingly, just 1 minute into the game, Defoe capitalized on a mistake by Ferdinand, smashing a vicious shot right into the back of the net. Fueled by the roaring home crowd, Spurs launched relentless attacks, looking like they wanted to eat Manchester United alive. But United launched a desperate counterattack, and somehow managed to flip the score to 2-1 by halftime. Sitting on the bench, you kept analyzing Ferguson's tactical tweaks. But the second half brought a sudden twist. Scholes committed a foul on Robbie Keane, and actually got slapped with a straight red card, getting sent right off the pitch. Since the team was now playing a man down, you figured there was almost no chance you'd see any action today. But to your absolute shock, just 5 minutes after Scholes was sent off, you were suddenly called to the sideline from your warm-up. Ferguson was actually subbing you in for Makeda, who was having a rough game. You grabbed Owen to pass on the boss's instructions. The coach wants you to take more initiative on the attack. Owen nodded, looking absolutely thrilled. The team wasn't getting nearly enough support up front, and to make matters worse, the moment you stepped onto the pitch, the opposition defender, Chorluka, stuck to your back like a leech. Even though you were still seen as complete trash by the rest of the Premier League, the Spurs manager wasn't taking any chances. He didn't want to see if your dumb luck would hold up, so he specifically assigned Chorluka to man-mark you all game. Chorluka was marking you so tightly it made you want to throw up. You could only complain to him as you ran. "Dude, I'm literally a nobody. You really don't need to waste your time on me." Surprisingly, Chorluka actually chatted right back. "Yeah, but you score goals." Left with no choice, you just had to run even harder, hoping to drain his stamina completely. You realize how naive you were. After shadowing you for over 10 minutes, veteran Chorluka isn't even breaking a sweat. You're instantly jealous. If I had fitness like that, I'd never have to worry about making the starting 11. You start to really miss Wayne Rooney. The team's ability to lead the charge has completely dropped off, leaving absolutely zero chances for you to grab a second ball. And for a pure poacher like you, no second balls means you're completely useless out there. With the clock ticking down to the final whistle, 10-man Manchester United are still fighting for their lives. Tottenham win a corner, desperate for one last roll of the dice. Even their keeper, Kudasini, sprints all the way into United's penalty box, ready to fight for the header. And Chorluka, who's been breathing down your neck all game, finally leaves you alone. You're standing right on the edge of the box, watching those absolute tanks wrestling with each other inside. Honestly, you're a bit jealous. It's not that you're scared of getting physical. Your frame is just too weak. You don't even have the strength to go shoulder to shoulder with them. Right as you're lost in thought, you suddenly notice. The ball is flying straight towards you. You don't even see who headed it clear. But that doesn't matter anymore. The ball is yours now. Knowing your first touch is absolute garbage, if you try to bring this high ball down, it's probably going to bounce right off you. So, you make a split-second, genius decision. You just let it bounce and start sprinting after it like a madman. The Spurs players are chasing you down like crazy, even though you got a head start and a 10-meter gap. You're not exactly fast. You can feel them closing in, the second you cross the halfway line. You channel every ounce of strength into your right foot, and just unleash a massive, long-range rocket. Because you took the shot in such a panic. With the Spurs players charging at you, seeing red. It looks like it's going wide, but incredibly, it smashes off the inside of the post, takes another bounce, and just slowly rolls into the back of the net. You're absolutely buzzing, your blood is boiling. You sprint like a maniac over to the touchline, and give Sir Alex a massive hug, that stubborn, wonderful old man. Your eyes are welling up, filled with nothing but pure gratitude. Sure, that goal had a bit of luck, but it's mostly the payoff from all those insane training sessions you've been doing. The rush of taking your destiny into your own hands, it literally sends shivers down your spine. Manchester United snatch an away win, kicking off the new season with 5 straight victories. Even without Cristiano Ronaldo, the Red Devils are still showing that unbeatable swagger. 6 goals in 5 league matches, and you are standing on top of the world. Completely dominating the Premier League top scorers chart. The global media goes absolutely wild, and even if their headlines are still full of words like fluke and dumb luck, your name is ringing out all across Europe. But over in Asia, millions of fans are in an absolute frenzy. After all, no Chinese player has ever found this kind of superstar success at a massive club like Manchester United. But the craziest part for the fans back home? None of the major networks can even get an interview with you. All those hyped up, desperate fans have absolutely nowhere to channel their excitement. They could only gather spontaneously on forums, countless people rooting for you. There were also the so-called rational ones, claiming your success was just pure luck. But right after that, some highly resourceful fans dropped a massive bombshell. Your special training at Manchester United was absolute hell, pushing yourself to total exhaustion every single day. That sheer hard work, combined with Sir Alex Ferguson's personal stamp of approval, instantly made countless people pin their highest hopes on you. Meanwhile, this frenzy attracted a swarm of eager sponsors. They sharply noticed that the hotter the hype, the better. Shrewd Chinese brands started frantically contacting the Manchester United front office, waving wads of cash and begging for sponsorships. The club's CEO, David Gill, was absolutely thrilled. He realized that you were a gold mine, way more massive than he ever imagined. Just as the CEO was scheming on how to maximize your commercial value, Ferguson was getting a massive headache over you. He wanted to shield you under his wing like a mother hen, completely cutting you off from all the outside noise and distractions. But of course, the one person he absolutely dreaded seeing showed up at his door right at that moment. It was Jorge Mendes, the most ruthless super agent in the football world, the mastermind behind Cristiano Ronaldo and Jose Mourinho. He was actually here. Ferguson's immediate reaction was a hard no. He knew guys like Mendes way too well. He was a bloodthirsty shark. But Mendes shattered Ferguson's defenses with just one single sentence. If the kid finds out you blocked me, it's gonna drive a huge wedge right between the two of you. After asking for your take on it, Ferguson had no choice but to back down. Right there inside the Carrington training complex, you finally met the legend himself. Mendes had an incredibly intimidating aura, yet his smile was surprisingly warm and polite. After a quick introduction, Mendes cut right to the chase. I'm sure you know why I'm here. I want to sign you. Let me take the wheel and guide your entire career to the absolute top. You didn't ask about any of the contract terms, and you didn't even hint at whether you'd sign or not. You just stared at him, confused, and asked a question that cut right to his core. Mr. Mendes, with all due respect. Why me? Out of all the agents out there, not a single one has reached out to me. You were brutally honest, admitting your goals were purely dumb luck. And that your actual skills didn't even belong at Manchester United. You even challenged him point blank. Is my luck really what you're after here? Mendes actually burst out laughing at that. He wasn't disappointed in the slightest. If anything, it made him even more determined to sign you. He dropped the smile, telling you straight up that having such brutal self-awareness at 18 was the exact foundation for true success. Then, he pulled out a career master plan, custom-tailored just for you. It was absolutely packed with genuine effort. You honestly didn't have a single reason to say no. After locking yourselves in for a 2-hour private chat, you happily signed your name on the dotted line. The second you finished signing, Mendes bluntly called Manchester United's previous contract a total joke. He promised to get you the massive paycheck you truly deserved, as fast as humanly possible. Just thinking about your bank account about to double up, you couldn't help but feel incredibly hyped. You were absolutely fired up. You boarded the team's chartered flight to Turkey with the rest of the squad. This was actually the very first time you were stepping out of the country for your professional career. You originally banked on Champions League goals scoring you double system points, but the system just brutally threw cold water all over that idea. It stated clearly that all official matches held the exact same value. That was definitely a bit of a letdown. You were hoping to cash in big time on this massive heavyweight clash, but, yeah, clearly you were just overthinking it. The next day, the highly anticipated Champions League finally kicked off. The deafening roar of the Turkish home crowd turned the match into a grueling stalemate, dragging on until the 63rd minute. The score was still a lifeless 0-0. Just then, Sir Alex finally waved you over, sending you in to replace Berbatov. The moment you stepped onto the pitch, Rooney quickly jogged over and asked, "Want to run some tactical plays?" You just smiled and shook your head. Admitting that you were still prone to losing the ball, you told him to just focus on taking the shots himself. You even patted your chest with confidence, telling him your luck was still off the charts. "Just watch for the rebounds, and we'll definitely get something." Rooney muttered a quick word of envy, before diving back into the game completely pumped up. And the crazy thing was, the very second you stepped onto that pitch, your frustrated teammates suddenly felt an inexplicable wave of reassurance. Goal. However, you had absolutely nothing to do with this one. Nani tore through the defense on the wing, delivered a pinpoint cut-back pass, and sent it straight into the back of the net. It took until the 77th minute, but Manchester United had finally broken the deadlock. You weren't discouraged at all. If anything, you felt even more relieved that you had used the coach's favor card on Sir Alex. Otherwise, with your current skill level, you wouldn't have seen a single minute of playtime. There were so many scoring chances. That one just dropped straight into your lap. It wasn't just luck. Rooney broke through the line and spoon-fed you an absolute tap-in of a square pass. Standing right near the penalty spot, you kept your cool and side-footed it in. The ball rolled safely into the net. You went absolutely wild, screaming at the top of your lungs. You rushed over, grabbed Rooney in a massive bear hug, and shouted, "You're the man, bro." Rooney could have easily taken that shot himself, but he selflessly chose to lay it off to you instead. A true legend. Making friends with him was the best decision ever, though your mutual hype session made your teammates cringe out of their minds. But everyone could see it clearly. You were improving at a freakish pace. In the past, you would have skied a sitter like that 9 times out of 10. The match entered stoppage time. Nani drove down the touchline and crossed it in. Rooney drew the defenders to the near post. You timed your run and charged in, but your reaction was still a split second too slow. Just as it looked like you were going to miss the ball completely, an opposing defender panicked and bumped you, sending you flying into the air. You completely lost your balance, flailing around awkwardly, but by some sheer stroke of dumb luck, it turned into an insane, spectacular diving header. The ball smashed perfectly against your head and bounced right into the back of the net. Goal. That's a brace. You scrambled off the ground, sprinting away in absolute ecstasy to celebrate. You were riding the ultimate high. Over on the touchline, Sir Alex couldn't wipe the massive grin off his face. You were full of so many surprises that he had no choice but to adjust his development plans for you once again. Manchester United cruised to a 3-0 victory, kicking off your Champions League campaign in perfect style. And right at the very moment you secured your brace, Mendes was already meeting with the club's top brass. Your new contract was finalized. Your brilliant performance was his absolute strongest bargaining chip at the table. By the time you got back to Manchester from Turkey, Mendes hit you with some massive news. your weekly wage jumped from £2,000 straight up to £15,000. Converted to yuan, that's over 100,000 a week after taxes. You excitedly signed your name on the new contract, and immediately had Mendes wire that first massive paycheck straight to your hardworking parents. You were finally making big money now, and you absolutely had to give your family a better life. Thanks to your borderline psychotic level of discipline, a miracle actually happened again. Right on the eve of the Manchester Derby, your physical stats suddenly surged. Shooting straight up to 79, you were just a tiny step away from the 80-point milestone. Just a sliver of a gap left. Highly explosive Manchester Derby officially kicked off, even though our noisy neighbors, Manchester City, didn't have the same track record as United. Their local hardcore fanbase was terrifyingly huge. This match was an absolute, crazy goal fest. Only 60-something minutes in, and both sides were already tied at 3-3. Every player on the pitch was playing like a maniac. Defense was completely thrown out the window. All that was left were brutal, blood-drawing tackles. In the 70th minute, you finally subbed in for Berbatov. You gotta understand. The fans were totally gearing up to boo the hell out of you. But nobody expected that your performance the second you stepped on the pitch would make those boos instantly vanish. You ran all over the field like a mad bull. Even when you got violently knocked flying by a City defender, you ignored the agonizing pain, scrambling and crawling just to fight for the ball. You literally put your life on the line. Using that raw, barbaric physical aggression, you ruthlessly carved out a bloody path right in the penalty area. The fans who previously hated you were absolutely stunned. You perfectly embodied exactly the kind of grit this derby needed. They swallowed the boos right back down their throats, which quickly turned into waves of shocked gasps. This is the derby. It's not just a battle of tactics. The stadium-wide boos vanished into thin air, and honestly, you weren't even used to it. But of course, you had absolutely no time to pander to the fans. Right now, your mind was only focused on fighting alongside your teammates and tearing the opponents to shreds. And right then, your chance arrived. Just 5 minutes after you came on, United got a corner kick. The second you charged into the box, a City defender marked you tight and shoved you straight into the dirt. But who would have thought? In the absolute chaos of the penalty area, the ball miraculously, dead center, smashed right into your butt. The entire Old Trafford Stadium instantly went dead silent. Scoring with your ass? And doing it while lying flat on the ground? Talk about a refreshingly unconventional method. But you didn't care at all. You jumped right up and celebrated like crazy. Who cares about luck? A goal is a goal. Right then, Rooney was the first one to rush over. He grabbed you in a massive bear hug, sprinting wildly and shouting, "I'm honestly a little jealous of you, man." It drove the whole stadium absolutely wild. It was like they were seeing the shadow of Cristiano Ronaldo from back in the day. You were startled and quickly explained, "Bro, I'm just as confused as you are." But Rooney just burst out laughing. He's not jealous of your skills, man. He's jealous of your absolute god-tier luck. I mean, he hit the post twice and smacked the crossbar once in the first half alone. The rest of the guys swarmed around you too. They've completely accepted you as a striker who can actually find the back of the net. But once the game restarted, a trailing Man City came fighting back like absolutely crazed animals. But if they wanted to go crazy, you, Hua Chengfei, could go even crazier. Right then, United launched a furious counterattack. Scholes fired a rocket from deep, but it was parried. Rooney rushed in for the rebound, blocked. Valencia unleashed a jaw-dropping bicycle kick, only for the keeper to pull off a miracle save. But no one could have predicted what happened next. The deflected ball flew out and smacked perfectly, dead center, right into your stomach as you sprinted toward the goal. And bounced right into the back of the net. You just scored another goal with your belly. You sprinted off, slapping your stomach in wild celebration. Who else has an arsenal like this? The United players were absolutely dumbfounded. This wasn't just luck anymore. This was sheer destiny. With only a few minutes left on the clock, you had already bagged a brace. You were completely satisfied, but then came stoppage time. Nani whipped in a viciously fast, waist-high cross straight at you. Your face went completely pale. A crazy ball like that, with a defender breathing right down your neck? Forget about controlling it cleanly, you could barely even keep your balance. But you were so close to the goal. If you didn't shoot right then, you'd definitely get dispossessed. You threw yourself at the ball, fighting off the massive shove from the defender behind you. You launched yourself into the air, throwing your body into a flying volley. You gave it everything you had, but all of your current abilities were nowhere near enough to pull off a wonder strike under that kind of intense pressure. Your heart sank. That mid-air volley, you completely shanked it. You clearly aimed for the right side of the goal, but the ball skewed wildly to the left, sailing high and looking certain to fly over the crossbar. Suddenly, you realized the City keeper had totally committed his dive to the right. He guessed completely wrong. The entire left side of the net was left wide open. But the ball was way too high. it was doomed to sail out of bounds. Just as despair washed over you, the ball took a freakish, unnatural dip. Bang! It violently crashed against the underside of the crossbar, bounced straight down onto the goal line. And incredibly, it popped back up, smacking the crossbar a second time, before finally ricocheting into the back of the net. The goal stood. You were absolutely losing your mind. A hat-trick, a freaking hat-trick in the Manchester Derby. You had just used your butt, your belly, and a completely outrageous miskick to achieve a dream most players wouldn't even dare imagine in their wildest lifetimes. The way he looked at you now, it was with total, utter respect. Yet, after the match, when Sir Alex and Mendes faced the press, they miraculously sang the exact same tune, instantly throwing a massive protective shield over you. He's still young, he just loves the game. Nobody bother him, and honestly, that suited you perfectly. You flat out ignored the papers and the news. Out of sight, out of mind. Because you knew better than anyone else. As awesome as those lucky goals felt. But what you're really hungry for, is to score fair and square. A goal with absolutely zero luck involved. You've got all this pent-up energy ready to explode. But a new challenge is already here. Right after that derby match comes the League Cup, and you're getting a little anxious. The third round of the League Cup kicks off, and somehow, you're on the bench again. This is a prime chance to rack up some goals. Why doesn't the old man take it seriously? You're feeling a bit deflated, relying on pure luck. Even you don't believe in yourself, let alone being the hero who saves the day. So, you're just sitting there on the bench, watching the other United reserves out on the pitch, absolutely dominating the championship side, Wolves. Especially the forwards, Makeda and Oberton. They're playing like absolute madmen. These eternal benchwarmers are treating this Nobody Cares Cup game as their one and only stage. They are just desperate to prove themselves. But being aggressive isn't enough. They went ages without scoring. Surprisingly, at halftime, Ferguson didn't chew them out. Instead, he gave them a massive pep talk. Then, in the 65th minute of the second half, Makeda scores on a rebound. Right after that, in the 70th minute, they sub off Oberton, who clearly still wants to play. He gives you this really complicated look. You look at his back as he walks off, just shaking your head inside. The guy is sitting on a goldmine but still begging for scraps. He's got all that talent, but absolutely zero football IQ. Well, that's not your problem. You immediately snap your focus back to the game. And just like that, your chance comes. Makeda pulls off a crazy backheel pass, dropping it right into your running path. For the first time ever, the ball actually feels obedient. The whole movement is totally seamless. Your face turns bright red. You totally miskicked it. Oh man, this is completely humiliating. But that ridiculously bad shot of yours? It completely fools the Wolves keeper who dived early. The ball takes this bizarre, slow motion loop, and just rolls right into the opposite corner of the net. You're standing there, totally stunned, just blinking. The keeper was way too helpful with that one. You happily accept the massive gift, and start celebrating. Over on the bench, Ferguson just shakes his head, looking completely caught between laughing and crying. Beside him, Phelan laughs and says, "Alex, luck is a skill too, you know." Ferguson cracks a smile. I'd be thrilled if he keeps getting this lucky. But Meulenstein chimes in with the real truth. Hua's made a lot of progress. We shouldn't just focus on his luck, and ignore the hard work he's putting in. Of course, you have no idea the coaches are even talking about you. Playing against a garbage team like this, it'd be a total crime not to bag a few more goals. You start running even harder, aggressively hunting for another chance. United's third goal comes in no time. But it's got nothing to do with you. Makeda takes the pass, fires a shot, and easily grabs a brace, leaving you absolutely drooling with envy. But you quietly tell yourself, you have got to walk before you can run. One of these days, you are going to leave him completely in the dust. With the score sitting at 3-0, the Wolves players absolutely lose their heads. Their tackles are getting reckless, but you are still hungry for another goal. Your teammates, though, start pulling out of challenges to avoid getting hurt. After all, there is no point risking your neck against a bunch of desperate guys. That leaves you completely stranded. Without your teammates backing you up, even maxed out luck stats cannot save the day. Right up until the final whistle blows. You just cannot find that second goal. You are absolutely gutted, but on the outside, you slap on a smile and celebrate with the boys. It is a long season ahead. So, the second the match wraps up, you head straight back to the training ground to put in some extra hours. Match day 7 of the Premier League kicks off, with Manchester United travelling away to face Stoke City. You are stuck on the bench again, until the 67th minute, when you finally get subbed on for Dimitar Berbatov. Berba looks absolutely fuming. Word is, his agent even went to Sir Alex to kick up a fuss about his lack of playing time. You can clearly sense that the gaffer's patience with him is wearing thin. A massive storm is definitely brewing in that dressing room. But none of that is your problem. You immediately target the weaknesses you spotted from the bench, using smart runs to drag their defense all over the place. You are not just some lucky rookie anymore. You are actually starting to click with the team's tactics. With sharp one-touch passes and drawing defenders away, you are opening up space for the boys. You are letting your football do the talking. And honestly, your shift on the pitch has finally got the fans to stop booing you. But you know damn well that the trolls online are still running their mouths, saying you do not deserve to wear the famous United shirt. You brush it off, though. Going from pure hate to an actual debate? Hey, that is progress. You just chuckle to yourself. Typical glory hunters. And sure enough, right on cue, you find the back of the net again. Another one of those absolute fluke goals, tapping in the team's third of the night. The traveling United fans go absolutely mental, roaring your name, Hua, at the top of their lungs. It feels incredible, but man, you are secretly sweating bullets. If that ball had hit you an inch lower, your future kids would have been wiped out. Taking a hit to the family jewels. All the money in the world would not fix that. But your minutes are still limited. United end up cruising to a massive 5-0 victory. The rest of the goals have nothing to do with you, though. You do not even scrape an assist. You are racking up the goals, but your assist tally is still sitting at a big fat 0. Even so, during the post-match presser, Sir Alex goes out of his way to defend you to the press. Lucky goals? What is wrong with Hua scoring lucky goals? His rate of improvement is outstanding. Soon enough, he will be a genuinely lethal striker for us. Hearing that gets you totally fired up. But what is even more thrilling, is that your stats have finally leveled up enough to unlock the Phantom of the Box skill.